So delight didn't. Anyway, hello and welcome back to the British and Irish Eagles podcast. I'm producing today. Zach Berman is on the podcast, and there's no Phil, so he's gonna be laughing at my attempt of an intro. But without any further ado, Zach Berman, welcome back to your fourth appearance on the British and Irish Eagles podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. I appreciate you asking me. It's always fun to come on.
I love it. Before we get into any Eagles talk, because we know, we see you on all the airways. We see you jumping on the Shield podcast. Love seeing you and Shield back together.
Yeah.
I remember the Birds of Friends days when I first started listening to you guys. And obviously jump on the EJ and Bo podcast as well, PHLY, where you used to be before, and you're writing for The Athletic, and I'm loving reading some of your pieces.
Athletic, yeah.
It's awesome. Still have our subscription. Love reading it.
Thank you.
But before we get into any of the Eagles going on right now, I wanted to talk to you about your book, Leap Year, Zach.
Thank you.
Because a lot of fans over in the UK and Ireland, I've been purchasing it, reading it, loving to kind of see the world through your eyes of that year. Obviously, it goes through the rebirth of the team after the previous year. There's key star contributors like Barkley and Vic Fangio come into shine, leadership dynamics of Nick and Jalen, and obviously the championship climax revenge match as well. What was it like to write it, Zach? How hard is it to write a book like that?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. It's the type of thing where you enjoy having written more than you enjoy writing, right? You know, when you see the finished product and you hold in your hands, that's fun. And the work that goes into it, really, it's an accumulation of the work throughout the season and the previous seasons too. And I'll say this one was a little different than in 2017. In 2017, I didn't think I'd be writing a book, right? And then, when in 2024, especially as that year went on, you really thought they were not the underdogs. They were the heavyweights, right? And that came through in a big way. And so the book takes you from the red confetti in February 2023 to the green confetti in February 2025. And you see how they got from that loss to the Chiefs to the win over the Chiefs, and all that happened during that 23 season, but then the 24 off season, and really it was a magical run in 2020 in 2024. And the thing is that it's easy to kind of look back after the fact and say, oh, it was going to be like this. But the reality is, if we talked after week 4 when they lost to Tampa Bay at the bye week, or even the win over Cleveland week 5, like there were some moments there where it really tested the team, even as late as December. After that Panthers game and the Steelers, and going into the Steelers game, and some of the concerns about the passing offense, losing to Kobe Dean in the postseason, the way they came on in the NFC Championship game, in the championship game, obviously, in the Super Bowl, and then seeing, Saquon Barkley's effect on the team, Vic Fangio's effect on the team, Zach Bond's effect on the team, and really tried to paint that picture for the audience, take them behind the scenes, and then also take you under the helmet of some of the principal characters of that Super Bowl roster.
It really is an awesome read, and you can buy it anywhere books are sold.
Yeah, correct.
Go out and make sure you get it. If you're a fan of Philadelphia Eagles, you haven't got it already, if you got a birthday coming up, whatever it is, go out and get it. It's a fantastic read. And Zach, we actually saw you during our trip during the season. We came into the PHLY studio, if you remember, and saw you and got the previous book signed.
Yes.
Maybe while you were already perhaps writing, or thinking about writing the next one. Was that
while I was writing the next one? Yeah, I believe while I was writing the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Got one question from Mark Smith here, specific about Leap Year. How hard is it writing the book when you have to decide which bits of the season to keep in versus which bits maybe don't make the final cut?
Yeah, great question from Mark. I'll tell you what, it's easier than not having enough material, right? I prefer having too much material than trying to stretch it out. And what you try to do, the way I framed it was, if you read this in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, what do you want to remember about the season? And then what supports the the climax, if you will, as you described it, right? Like how did you get to that point? So I try to say what was most memorable. So each week of the season, what was most memorable? The Jacksonville game, Saquon's leap, obviously, the Kobe Dean's interception, but like what was most memorable? And then also because each chapter kind of builds toward winning the Super Bowl. So what contributed to that Super Bowl win? So that's the way I try to frame it. There was a lot that was on the cutting room floor, in particular player profiles, because I profiled 10 different people in this book. It was up to me. I would have profiled 25 different people between space and time. Wasn't able to do that. So did 5 people on offense, 5 people on defense. So it turns out to, and then I'm sorry, 4 on offense, 4 on defense. And then there's a Jeffrey Lurie chapter, Howie Roseman chapter, Nick Sirianni chapter. So so I really try to take you behind the scenes in that regard too.
You should keep some of those stuff on the cutting floor. Like you see these authors, fictional and non-fictional authors, and they re-release backstories in a fictional sense. Maybe you could re-release in a few years' time, like the unnamed or the unsung heroes that were also part of it. Yeah,
could happen. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the current Eagles affairs. Zach, thanks for joining us. I know how busy you are. I got a few questions I want to throw at you that I'm really interested in getting your opinion on, and then we've got some questions from the fans, and I'm sure you can imagine some are serious and some are silly.
Okay.
It wouldn't be an Eagles podcast with Zach Berman. Well, I'm basically Bo Wolf on this podcast. All right.
I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
We all have journalism degrees. That might be something we have in common. So I want to go straight to one of the most recent sirens in Woolen from the Seahawks, the cornerback. I have a theory that I want to get you. I want to get your take on. I feel like the Eagles need a CJ Gardner-Johnson-like personality in the locker room to give a bit of juice, a bit of je ne sais quoi, a bit of bravado, a bit of dog mentality. Obviously, CJ was there for both Super Bowls that we got to. Do you think that someone like Tyreek will be able to come in and fill that kind of role? We're hearing, he's not quite like CJ in terms of, but he's got a bit of that about him. And do you think that's been missing a little bit? Because the Eagles sign players with great character, like captains of their teams in college, etc. And maybe they do that so much that they miss a little bit of the grit. What's your take?
Yeah, well, first off, by saying je ne sais quoi, you're definitely channeling Bo, so I appreciate that. It's a valid point. I think in 23 they missed C.J. Gardner-Johnson in terms of that personality, the football personality. I do think they have some guys who've really kind of stepped into that role, and the defense was outstanding this past year, so I can't necessarily say that was the case. And I think Rick Wallen, if that's a residual benefit, it's a good thing. What he needs to be here to do is be a really strong corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell, next to, in some cases, Cooper DeJean, or in that group with Cooper DeJean. And so I think that's more critical than anything else, more than the personality. I think in Rick Wallen's case, I'm expecting this to be a 1-year partnership. I think he can rebuild his value, and I think this is more about football. And I didn't go into this offseason expecting the Eagles to really push for a cornerback, but it makes sense when you see what their value was for Rick Wallen, when you see what else was on the market. And I think that it does answer questions now going into the spring and the summer to know, all right, here are your top 3 corners. They still need to figure out their second safety, but here are your top 3 corners. And that's a good position to be in when the top 3 corners are this quality.
Yeah, I got a follow-up question in a few, which is going to tie into my next theory, which you can either debunk or agree with, which is linked to exactly what you just said about having that depth in the cornerback position. But next question, and moving to offense real quick here, Dallas Goedert, another more recent news story since we last podcast. I know you guys are podcasting nearly every day. What's your take on it, Zach? Because when you look at the rest of the tight end market and what they got, and when you look at what Goddard got, even with his injury history, 11 touchdowns, 11 or 13 touchdowns last year.
11,
11, thank you. Was his most healthy year. He's only 31. Like Travis Kelce's 37, and he's getting $12 or $13 million. What's your take on how that came to pass?
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that, to be honest with you. I thought Dallas Goddard was going to get more on the market. That's why I didn't think Dallas Goddard was going to be back. Um, I look, I mean, age might be a factor here. Could just be the volume of teams that needed tight ends and where they sought to distribute that money. But yeah, I mean, I think if you told me Dallas Goddard would be available at this price
7 million.
going into the offseason, I would have said he's coming back to the Eagles for sure, right? And so I certainly get it from the Eagles' perspective. I haven't spoken to Dallas yet. Uh, for him, he's entering year 9 with the Eagles. There's obviously sentimental value here. It's an offense that fits him well. But I did think it would be disingenuous for me to say I was expecting this going into the offseason. The fact that he took a pay cut last year, I thought that he'd get paid this year in the free agency market. That didn't happen. It certainly helps the Eagles that he's coming back.
Huge. Do you think there's a scenario, a world where he performs so well this year, regardless of whether AJ is here or not, where he actually gets paid more next year
Yeah.
by proving 2 years of health?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stop predicting the Dallas Goddard market because I've been wrong every year now. Look, is that possible? Yeah, I mean, it's rare that at age 32 you get paid more than age 31 or 30. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I've been totally off projecting Dallas's future here with Philly, so it would be. I'm probably not the guy you want to turn to for that one.
Well, you've had many good takes, Zach. So when you have to make takes, you're going to get one or two that don't fall your way, right?
Sure, sure.
Staying on offense, buddy. Hollywood Brown, love the name, Marquise Brown, here for a 1-year deal, 28 years old. Again, similar context for me. A lot. I don't know about you, but I thought he may have garnered more than the contract value he's had for the Eagles on a 1-year deal. But I just wanted your opinion on that deal. Is this a wide receiver 3 play for the Eagles? Yeah. Could he be wide receiver 2 if AJ does go, or would they need to bring in someone else to be wide receiver 2? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think they would need to bring in someone else to be the second wide receiver. I mean, I really liked Hollywood Brown earlier in his career. I know the Eagles did too. When he was a first round pick with Baltimore, and then he got traded to Arizona. He obviously had that injury 2 years ago. He was solid last year. He wasn't. He didn't light up the board.
Yeah.
And he didn't have necessarily the same effect down the field that he's had in years past. I mean, he had, I think, 12 targets of 20+ yards last year. 4 of his first 5 seasons, he was over 20 in that area. So it's a way of seeing that, like, but he's not old, right? No. And he's 2 years removed from that injury now. And yeah, if the barometer is, can he give you more than Jahan Dotson, then it's a sensible bet here, especially when you look at what Dotson made on the market compared to him. Now the question obviously is what happens with AJ Brown, right? I mean, I think this is the type of move they would look at regardless of whether AJ's on the roster or not. I think if you're expecting Hollywood Brown to step in for AJ Brown, if AJ Brown weren't here, I think that's ambitious. But I think that I still expect them to plug this position in the draft. But I do have some questions about the passing offense this year, and especially if AJ's not here. I know they expect a lot from Devontae, and they should, but you need more than that, and we'll see how this shakes out by the time they get to camp in August or July.
That's a great chat, and this is prompting another question because you mentioned they'll look at it in the draft. Do you think if they know, and it's hard to know, if they have a good inkling or a good idea that AJ Brown is staying, they will still spend capital in the draft with Devontae, Hollywood? Yeah. You do?
I do. Look, I mean, they haven't taken. They went from 2019 to 2022. They spent a first or second round pick in some variety, sometimes via trade. Obviously, in the case of AJ, but a first or second round pick on that position.
And Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith, and then AJ Brown. Since then, the Eagles haven't drafted a wide receiver before the 5th round, right? Before Anaya Smith. Now you can say they traded for Jahan Dotson. They trade a third. They get back a pick a round later. But bottom line being, this is not a position that they've invested it in the draft, and I think that's why when you look at this depth chart, you have Darius Cooper, you have Johnny Wilson, but you don't necessarily have like that rising young receiver who you say, all right, this guy's going to be a future starter for you. And I think this is a year when they could potentially find it. It's a deep receiver class. You never know how the boards are going to fall. If we had this conversation last year, we probably did. I would have thought they would have drafted tight end a year ago, and they didn't draft one, right? And now they're in a position. Yeah. So you don't know how the board's going to fall, but they certainly have the draft inventory to do it. And I think wide receiver is a position to watch closely.
All right. I love that. Interesting insights coming up to the draft. I got my second theory, Zach. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So second theory is back to defense. I feel like with the assets that Howie has at his disposal right now within the team, you look at how deep we are at D tackle. You look at the accumulation of Riq Woolen at the cornerback position, which we touched on earlier, and how strong that three is, probably the strongest in the league. It's got to be up there, you would have thought, from a three perspective. Very strong at linebacker, even with Nakobe Dean going. Trotter as the third linebacker there is strong, and the other two are obviously huge upside with Jihad and Pro Bowl talent with Zach Baum. They need to fill a little bit of a hole at safety, but apart from that, for me, it feels like the plan going in this year is to stop the run up the middle with the D tackles, to stop the pass by flooding the secondary with elite talent, and perhaps for the first time in a few years not spend as much draft capital or invest as much at the defensive edge position. Do you think there's any credence to that, or do you think they are going to look in the draft at the defensive end position as well?
Yeah, I would probably push back on that one.
Okay.
Because I still think they prioritize edge rusher. And look, maybe it comes via trade for Jonathan Grenard. We'll see how the draft board falls. But I still think they prioritize edge. I mean, they were in Jalen Phillips quite a bit, right? And they weren't able to bring him back. They traded a third-round pick last year for Jalen Phillips. So, no, I still think edge pressure is important to them. I see your point, but I think that's more circumstantial, right? I mean, once they don't keep Jalen Phillips, where do they turn? And I think there were some other guys that they might have been interested in on the market, but edge rushers get paid, right? And so they redistribute their money elsewhere. But I would expect edge to be a priority. Whether it could be a veteran, like I said, like you keep hearing Grenard's name, but that's going to cost you draft capital and a new contract. But I definitely don't think the Eagles are punting on the edge.
All righty. I'm sure you'll be right because I'm wrong way more often than you are.
I don't know about that either. Yeah.
Right. I got some fun questions here. Right, Zach, have you got a middle name?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Can I ask you what your middle name is?
My middle name's Harris.
Harris. All right, because I was going to start the podcast off by doing your full name, and I was on Google and I was AI Copilot, someone find me Zach Berman's middle name, and couldn't find it anywhere. So, Zach Harris.
Is that something you would typically be able to find on Google?
I feel like with an acclaimed author and journalist like yourself, you might find it. You'd probably be surprised what you can find on Google.
Sure.
There you go, Harris. There you go. Love it. All right, more serious question. This is from Mike Sewell from the British and Irish Eagles membership. What level of confidence do you have in the new coaching setup that the Eagles have brought in going into this season?
I don't like punting on questions, but I also have an aversion to those who talk before knowing what they're talking about, right? And I don't have enough information on this yet, and I mean, I still need to meet them. I still want to see this. I still want to see how this looks. I can give you the generic answer about what I hear from people around the league about Sean Mannion, and it's overwhelmingly positive, and the of evolving the offense and some of the things that could fit. But the reality is, I don't know. There's not a proof of concept here with Sean Mannion. If they had hired Mike McDaniel, I could probably speak with a little more education on this. And
Let me
I think that,
let me reframe it a little bit then.
yeah.
So, how do you think Jalen Hurts will cope with going into another new season with a new offensive coordinator, based on what you've seen from Jalen in the past?
Yeah, I think Jalen's eyes wide open on this, and I think Jalen understood that that change was coming, and that probably that change was needed. And I spoke to Jalen last week, and he's
Oh
excited
yeah.
for. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
for the book.
excited.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He sounded excited about Sean Mannion, but again, like at this, we're talking March 18th here. They don't really have like in depth football conversations this time of year with the players and coaches, right? When when they report for the offseason program, I think that's when that gets taken up a notch. We'll obviously see them on the field in OTAs and minicamp, but at this juncture, no, I think that I would expect Jalen to have eyes wide open. I think Jalen knows, you know, this passing game needs to get better. This offense needs to get better. But I also think that it's premature for a lot of these conversations.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's totally fair. And I will say a comment from myself, having looked at the press conferences when asked about Kevin Petullo as offensive coordinator last year in a similar time compared to the questions he's being asked now about Mannion, there does seem to be a level of
Yeah.
uptick in excitement from Jalen. Now, whether that's by
Yeah.
design or whether that's genuine is to be debated.
Yeah, I think, and again, I can't speak for Jalen,
Of course.
and I'm not trying to defend Kevin either.
Yeah.
Jalen was that clip that's going around. Jalen was asked that the day after the Super Bowl,
Okay.
or not the day, the few days after the Super Bowl, about like the theoretical possibility of Kevin Petullo becoming offensive coordinator, and it was asked with the education that Petullo was the front runner for that job, of course, but it was like it's a different job than the one that Jalen knew him from, right? And so I think a lot
Right.
was read into that.
Mm.
With Sean Mannion, he's if Jalen Hurts was asked about Sean Mannion 2 months ago, he I don't think he would talk about how excited he was about Sean Mannion, right? So yeah, I think that's something that more could have been read into that. But
That's fair.
I can't speak for Jalen, obviously.
No, that's totally fair. All right, switching things up here a little bit. I don't even think I can ask that question.
You can ask it, yeah, yeah. You can
Yeah,
ask it.
this is
Oh,
from
you can't
Mick.
ask it?
This is from Mick, who's the co-host of the podcast. What color underwear are you wearing today, Zach?
Black. Most
There
of my
we
underwear
go.
is black. Yeah,
That's a
so,
safe
yeah.
color. Safe color.
Yeah, I got just a lot of black boxer briefs. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Favorite eagle you've ever covered? Big question.
Honestly, so I'll give you the politically correct answer, and then I'll give you kind of the honest
Okay.
answer. Or the politically correct answer is honest too. Which is like it's my job to find a connection with all of them, or so many of them, and there's so many that have been gracious with their time, with their stories, with their perspective over the years. It would be wrong of me to to say one. What I can say is that there's nobody who I respected more and appreciated more during my time covering the Eagles than Malcolm Jenkins.
Okay.
Because I thought Malcolm Jenkins was, first off, he was honest, he was accessible. I thought he had really good perspective on what was going on with the team, and he's something, and he was human too. And I got to cover his entire Eagles career, and so there's nobody I respected more than Malcolm. And I went up to Malcolm's hometown and spent time with him before he played his first game with the Eagles, and then got to see him kind of ascend into one of the best safeties in the NFL. But I mean, we're talking right now 12:26. I could fill up the next 34 minutes with stories of different players, and so yeah, I mean, I'm appreciative of every year. There's 70 players on the team. If you include the guys who come in and out, you're probably talking about 90 players over the course of the year. And I wish I had a relationship with all 90 of them, but you try to get to know as well as you can as many of them in there. And like I'm genuinely appreciative of all of them.
That's a great answer, and I love the human element that you say. That's really important to me in my workplace. Whenever I'm talking, whenever anyone ever asks me about what are you looking for in a hire, I'm always like a good human being, and then
Sure.
work from there. Because
Yeah.
you can't teach you can't teach that, right? You can teach everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Also love Malcolm Jenkins, one of my favorite defensive players of all time. I started following the Eagles in about 2013 when I
Okay.
met my wife, who had an uncle who lived in Philly, and I met her in the UK, and I loved the NFL and didn't have a reason to support a team. And then I came over and watched my first game. So Malcolm was there at the early parts of my
Sure.
viewership as well. Love that. Alrighty. So you got 5-10 minutes left, Zach? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. You got it.
All
You
right.
got it.
Thanks, buddy. All right. We got another funny one here. If you had to spill one condiment on your favorite jacket, what would it be? So, like, let's say sauce. If you had to spill one sauce on your
Oh
favorite
man,
jacket,
my
what
favorite
would it be?
jacket. And what color is the jacket?
Oh, the jacket's white.
Jacket's white. Okay. Yeah, I'm not wearing a lot of white jackets for that reason, probably. Um, so I have to. So what?
So you have to spill a sauce, like any
Yeah.
sauce, on the jacket. Um,
Yeah.
and what would obviously you want it to come out? So or maybe you don't. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to
No, you definitely, no,
you might want to excuse to
definitely
buy a
want it to
new
come out.
jacket, Zach. You might want to go,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, you definitely want it to come out.
Yeah.
I'm probably, I mean, probably like a mustard, maybe,
Alright.
because I think you can conceal that a little bit, as best you can. But yeah, I'm probably not wearing the jacket if I spilled on it, honestly. Yeah.
I bought a white Mitchell and Ness Eagles jacket
Okay.
a year and a half
Yeah.
ago, and I wore it to a tailgate, and I fielded a punt at the tailgate, and it was a wet day, and I got mud and stuff all over my jacket.
Oh, okay.
And then this lovely woman came over with like some club soda and
Okay.
poured club soda all over it, and it just like
Yeah.
vanished. And I was
The
like,
mug did. Okay.
yeah, I was in awe.
Okay. Okay. So whatever the equivalent of mud would be, then that I guess
Yeah.
that's what I'll go with. Yeah.
Yeah. Mayonnaise might be a good one for a white jacket, actually.
All right. There you go. Yeah, that's a good point.
I was like, all right, we'll take mustard or mayo. There we
Yeah.
go. All right, serious question. Do you think there is another splash coming in the draft? Before the draft from Howie? Do you think we can see another big move before the draft?
Good question. With Howie, I never say never. But before the draft, I would pay close attention to the edge rusher market, Jonathan Grenard, and if that could materialize. I don't think AJ will be before the draft right now. So I'm guessing, and I think there's a real possibility of both of those in the previous week plus. But I'm going. I'll lean toward no, but I'm paying attention to the edge rusher market.
All right, yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. I feel like Howie might be done.
Yeah.
Do you think they could pick up a veteran safety before the draft, like something?
Yeah, I mean, Howie always likes to draft proof the roster, and you're seeing this now in that this is the time when he signs, the 1 year lottery ticket, and I think Howie goes into this with the eyes wide open. Like he knows these signings, some of them, won't materialize, but if one of them turns into Patrick Robinson or Chris Long, who were signed on March 26th in 2017.
Yep.
If it turns into Zach Bond, right? And now he was earlier on, but yeah, like you're trying to just see if you can find value and hope one hits.
I love it. All right, you mentioned March 18th earlier on, which is today. March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. I'm Irish. I don't know if you listened to the Bo and EJ podcast yesterday where they tried desperately, terribly to do an Irish accent. Have you listened to that yet?
I heard. Yeah, I listened to part of it. Yeah.
I was messaging EJ on Twitter, like we were DMing.
Yeah.
He's a Villa fan. He came on a few weeks ago, so we chatted about
Sure.
football a little bit. His Irish accent was horrendous. But Bo kind of went between Northern Irish and Irish.
Yeah.
We're in the middle. It wasn't too bad. But did you have a Guinness yesterday on St. Patrick's Day, Zach? Did you?
I did not have a Guinness yesterday. No. I did not. I probably should have, but I did not have a Guinness. No.
Guinness Zero, even if you've got a big day the next day. Have you had a Guinness Zero before? They're pretty good.
I've had a Guinness, not a Guinness Zero. Yeah.
They're all the Raven Orange.
Okay.
Non-alcoholic Guinness, yeah, and it's
okay.
It's really, really good.
All right, I like that. I like that. Okay.
highly recommend. Not that they sponsor this podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's get them to sponsor you guys.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we jump straight into our sponsorship, and then we can
Yeah.
finish up with
There
two
you go.
questions.
Celebrate victories, rally through challenges, and bond with fellow fans as you toast with a dram of Loch Lomond single malt whisky. From tailgating gatherings to watch parties at home, Loch Lomond whisky becomes an essential companion, enhancing the moments that make football so extraordinary. It's the perfect accompaniment, from the joy of victory to the bittersweet moments of defeat. Loch Lomond offer a wide range of malts, with their flagship perfectly balanced, and signature expressions Inchmoan and Inchmuren to suit any taste palette. Celebrate greatness on and off the field this season with a perfect balance of Loch Lomond whisky and Eagles football. From the first pour to the crowd roar, fly Eagles fly.
There you go, Zach. One of those is coming your way very soon, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
When we meet up to get my leap year book signed. Two questions I want to ask, and they're big ones before we finish up, Zach. And I know I'm asking for a bit of projection here, and I'm never going to hold you to these takes. AJ Brown. It's the biggest question on everyone's lips. Everyone wants to hear about it. It's been beaten to death, right? But it is interesting, and as a reporter, you must love this kind of stuff because there's so many different takes and pulls and tweaks on it. And Diana Rossini, who's doing a great job on reporting, as well. She's all over that piece. We're all right. Put me in August, right? We're finished. We're just about to start preseason. Zach Berman, is AJ Brown in an Eagles jersey, or is he not in an Eagles jersey?
I would guess no. I would guess he's playing in New England, and so that's I think it's gonna be hard to put toothpaste back in the tube here. You never say never, right? And if we talked this time last year, I would have thought Dallas Goedert was playing elsewhere in 2025, and that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of smoke here for a reason, and my guess is that AJ is playing elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. A lot of people don't want to see that. My take on it is, look, it's football. If a guy wants to be somewhere else and he's not out, then as a fan, because I am a fan of the Eagles as well as host the podcast. Right. I want people to be in the building who want to be there. But at the same time, if they've got ambitions to be elsewhere and they've got different goals, then let's go and let that happen, as long as it's not to the detriment of the team, right? Sure. So I think that's completely fair. Next one is the biggest player on the defensive side of the ball, arguably, figuratively, not physically, and that's Jalen Carter. And with Jordan Davis being signed, incredible year this year. Jordan Davis revitalized his life, every part of his life and his career. It's inspirational to see. And I know Vic Fangio was saying that actually started in the November before it didn't start in the off season as well. With Davis being signed, with Mario Jomo looking like he's the real deal, it's a two-part question. Is Jalen Carter going to be the highest paid tackle in football after this year? And if so, is it in an Eagles uniform?
I would guess yes and yes.
Okay.
And I think that Jalen Carter's going to – I think they'll give Jalen Carter a contract extension to keep him in Philly for a long time, and it'll be as the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. And so I actually – the reason I hesitated is I think it's going to happen before the season, right? But we'll see what happens. Obviously, they have the fifth-year option that they can use in 2027. But I think that if you just look at the DeVonta Smith contract, for instance, the Eagles can kind of use that as a tool in putting together a new deal. But I don't know if they'll get a discount per se. But I think that if you believe in the player and you believe in the person, then it makes sense for you to do it sooner than later. Because with blue chip players, there's no discount that you get from waiting. So if they are determined to keep him, then they should do it before the season and not next offseason.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. So just to show how bad I am at producing, and I never do this,
Yeah.
I went live on this podcast.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
and I've just realized 35 minutes in. So there's a couple of quick questions in the chat
Okay.
here. So from Cal Bernstein, how hard is it to stay knowledgeable about the rest of the league when you're focused on one team
Yeah.
as a beat reporter?
Yeah, I love this question because I think it's something that I struggle with, honestly, is that like I'm not watching every NFL team every Sunday. I'm at the stadium, and I'm at the stadium all day, and then I go back and I watch the Philadelphia Eagles game, and I watch something on the opponent that the Eagles are about to play. Okay, and so there's cross opponent film there, but in a tip like take a conference like the AFC, and then I watch the national games, right?
Yeah.
But the AFC South, let's say, for instance, right? I didn't get a lot of chances to watch like the Titans this past season. They're not on national TV very often. There aren't that many cross games, and so you end up you know the division you cover really well, and then you know some of the other top teams that you see quite a bit. But no, I love football, but I would know more about the league if I wasn't at the stadium every if I wasn't at the stadium every Sunday. The days like when the Eagles play on a Monday night game and I just watch football all day, it's awesome. But I don't get that experience very often, and I'm happy with the arrangement I have now, getting to cover games rather than sitting at home.
Well, that's interesting because my one final follow-up question, and then we'll end it there, Zach. Have you got aspirations to be a national reporter? Obviously, do you down the Shield route? Do you see yourself being on national TV or national columns, like writing all the time?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how things progress. Like I love covering the Eagles. I love being in Philadelphia. I love being this fan base, like writing for this fan base, is special to me. So I'm very appreciative of the job that I have. But as my career progresses, yeah, I mean, it's something that definitely interests me. But it's not like I don't have a wandering eye right now. I'm very happy with the job that I have right now, for sure.
Yeah, don't worry. Your employer's not looking into jumping ship here, and you'll be it's good to have that ambition. Zach, listen, just a huge thank you from me, and I know all of the fans in Ireland and England back home, where I used to live up until a year ago. Now here in Newtown, Bucks County, 45 minutes north of.
Great, a great area. Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you know it?
I do. I did some book signings up in Newtown. Really like it up there.
Next time you're up here, give me a hello. I'll go buy you a
Zero
Guinness and we'll get a book signed.
I will. I love that.
But yeah, listen, thanks so much for joining. You're always very gracious with your time and coming on to speak to everyone. This is just we do this for fun to try and connect the communities across the pond, and we all have our own jobs. So we really appreciate you guys giving us your time, and thanks for being a great reporter. Thanks for keeping us, connected to the birds across the pond. Looking forward to the Eagles' next Super Bowl, so we get a chance to read another one of your books, maybe.
I'll see what my wife says about that one, but no, I appreciate the support. I love coming on, and I mean it. Like, part of what makes this job special is it's this fan base, it's the audience, and I never understand why not every reporter embraces that. Like, this is so cool to have there's fan bases that aren't this into it,
right?
And I wouldn't want to cover those teams because what makes this special are people like you and your listeners, and so I'm grateful. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, Zach. Hey, hopefully I'll catch you at a preseason training game like we did last year. And if not before then,
sure.
Kyle from British Irish Eagles moved to New York. He wants to come down and he wants to physically buy a Leap Year book in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's awesome.
I texted him earlier and I said, well, when you come down, let's see if we can hit up Zach and we'll go meet him together. So
perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you, Liam.
Yeah, cheers, Zach. Hey, take care.
Okay. Yep.
All righty. So, yeah.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks again.
Yeah, cheers, Zach. Thanks. All right, folks, thanks for listening to the British and Irish Eels podcast, which was not supposed to go live, but did. So there you go. Phil, I need you producing duties next time around. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the podcast with Zach. Hope you enjoyed me fumbling over those duties. Some great questions from the members and the fans. Yeah, we'll be back hopefully next week or a week after. I know Road to the Draft. I know if you're wondering where it is, it's coming. Mick is currently in the middle of moving house, so I know he's going to be getting back on that train as soon as we can to delve into some of those position picks. And